Hello, everybody. Welcome to Escape Pod, powered by the Way We Nerd. I am Dan Villalobos. With me, as always, is
Kyle Bound
and
Russell Fung.
Yeah, sorry, I chose the and over the with.
Now you gave Kyle with, and I got the and credit.
That's true. That's true. All right, something we were talking about off pod, but we're not going to start that now because
jokes, I guess.
Yes, that would only be interesting amongst us three.
with
anyway,
Rosario Dawson.
Yes, and Tamara Morrison. Oh, I forgot his name. And Ming-Na Wen.
Ming-Na Wen.
All right, so that's what we're talking about, by the way.
Michael Biehn. Diana Lee Inosanto.
It took me a second to realize it was him. He looked so old, and then I heard his voice. I was like, "Wait, I know that voice. That's Michael Biehn." Oh my god, dude! I knew a guy who was really good friends with him and says he's the nicest dude on the planet. Unfortunately,
is he known more for Kyle Reese or Aliens, like Terminator or Aliens? Which is,
I would say Terminator, but not by much, because he's known basically for both of those. He's basically known for being James Cameron's guy, him and Paxton, because he was also in the was he in the Abyss? Yeah, he was in the Abyss, which is a very underrated Cameron movie, much better than Avatar. But we won't get on that because then Kyle will talk about the sequels and how excited he is for all 6 sequels that are coming. But anyway, no, we're here to talk about The Mandalorian because you know what's funny? I didn't realize that our last conversation was so long ago that it was before the episode with Ahsoka, which is what, 205?
Yeah,
205. Yeah.
And what was the name of it?
The Jedi.
I believe it was The Jedi.
Oh my god, how can I forget that?
Even though she's technically not a Jedi, but they just titled it The Jedi.
Yeah, but he's searching for a Jedi, and they called Ahsoka a Jedi. I mean, she's a Jedi. In that
spirit. In that time period, she, other than like Luke and whoever, spoilers for episode 6, Grogu was communing with, you know, they're pretty
spoilers
much
spoilers for everything, by the way. Yeah, this is all spoiler.
Yeah, that's
spoilerific. If you're watching this, you've watched the Mando, because I don't know why you'd be watching this if you didn't. Anyway, so that was the first big guest star, and we'll talk about the whole episode. And then the second one had 2 big guest stars. And a mention of a third, which I'll talk about him when we get to the that episode. We had Tamara Morrison returning as Boba Fett, and Ming-Na Wen, whose character's name I'm forgetting.
Fennec.
Yes.
I think I should know this.
Something like that.
I think you got it right. Yeah, since it was an Asian actress, you should definitely know this, Russell. Come on.
I know.
I'm just kidding. But anyway,
one time someone called her Ming-Na, like on her name tag.
Yeah.
And she was like, "Na is not my last name. My last name is Wen." So someone thought her name was Ming Na, but it's actually Ming hyphen Na is her first name, and then Wen is her last name.
Yeah, totally. It definitely matters where the hyphen is. Pay attention, people. So the first episode that we'll talk about Ahsoka. Obviously, this is something I've been excited about for a very long time because I am a huge Ahsoka fan. She's one of the reasons I know Kyle hates the Clone Wars movie, and yes, I know it's not good, but it was the movie that introduced. Yeah, exactly. And although people were like annoyed by her, like, she's, come on, Sky Guy, she didn't like any of that stuff. I was like, she's like a 13-year-old girl. What's wrong with you people? Like, it's George likes that kind of stuff. That's why we have Jake Lloyd as Anakin. He went for just cute instead of cute and can act. No offense to Jake Lloyd, but Jake wasn't ready. Like, poor kid. I don't want to blame him, but he wasn't ready.
But
anyway, he was pretty good in Jingle All the Way.
Yes, he was good in that because he's cute. Sorry, go ahead, Russ.
Well, with Ahsoka, she's always disobeying orders, so it's teaching kids that it's okay to
break
the rules as long as it works out at the end.
Well, that's what
Michael Jackson's mother said.
Oh.
Yeah.
No, but like I think Ahsoka was very much the idea for Anakin that he got the Padawan he deserved.
Yeah, I agree.
He did.
That's what he would do constantly.
Oh yeah, totally. No, Ahsoka and Anakin, like, I mean, they were such kindred spirits, like they were brother and sister. Like it was like it didn't, there was never any, well, shouldn't have been any sexual tension because she was so much younger than him, but I don't think that was ever an idea that even if she grew up, there would be like a triangle between her, and it always felt familial, and Anakin needed that.
Yeah, he did need that.
He needed.
Well, it depends on who you talk to.
Oh,
saying,
you mean because you're
this
hoping,
this is
hoping
going to
about the
get
Jedi.
into my whole the Jedi Order are an ancient order of religious zealots and should be dismantled and
They were. Don't worry, they were.
destroyed.
They were
But-
Palpatine lover.
Look, Palpatine's also wrong. If I had to choose a side, I would choose the Jedi.
I know you would. I'm totally kidding
But
with you. I'm totally
they're
kidding.
also it is their fault.
It's just white guys.
It's their fault. They deserved it.
White guys right now are easy
Made it
targets.
happen to themselves.
White guys are easy targets in today's world right now. So, but anyway, so Ahsoka is. I mean, I know a lot of people were, well, not a lot, but a few people out there were clamoring for Ashley Eckstein to reprise the role, which I don't know if she has the right look per se. Like, she had the right look for young Ahsoka, but I don't know. I'm trying to think of what she looks like. Like I keep thinking about her, but I keep picturing the girl who another voice actress. I can't remember the name of it all of a sudden, but because I looked her up the other day and I was like, oh, that's Ashley Eckstein. But,
yeah, I feel like I feel bad that if she wanted that role and she didn't get it.
Wanted it.
Yeah, like she originated it. But that would be like Arlene Sorkin not getting Harley Quinn live action.
That's but by the way, that's it. That's her. That's the one I thought it was. I got the people mixed up, but she's much older, Arlene, than Ashley, I believe. Arlene's been doing this for a long time, but I don't know. I mean, I said this on I think on Twitter, on Facebook, one of the two, but I think Rosario Dawson can do anything, and she proved it again.
I like Ahsoka. I really like it.
Oh my God, I was like, as soon as those lightsabers lit up and I saw her, I was just like, oh, yay. And I definitely need that Ahsoka show.
So you're the one that likes Ahsoka, but then Kyle doesn't, right?
No, Kyle likes her.
Oh. No, I love Ahsoka.
Oh,
I don't think.
Okay.
I
don't know why I'm like the Ahsoka hater in this pod.
I didn't like Ahsoka up until season 5 of Clone Wars.
Oh, okay.
I mean,
so I didn't like her up until that point.
So you didn't like the 13-year-old annoying little girl.
I didn't like the 14, 15-year-old Ahsoka when she got like when she got to be on the run. That's when I started to like her.
Well, I think that's when her story got really good. But she has one of the best arcs in Star Wars, in my opinion, in general. Like everywhere. And it's not even done. It's not even done.
Yeah, I mean, before we get to the episode, I just want to say, like, I was one of those fans or people that didn't like Ahsoka because she was always in the way of what I wanted.
She's like Bumblebee.
Because what I wanted out of Clone Wars was I wanted it to be the Anakin and Obi-Wan show, but that's not what the show wanted to be. I wanted it to be the Ahsoka and Rex show, and I was so like against Ahsoka getting in the way of what I wanted. But I can say I'm wrong, okay? And like I accept that it's the Ahsoka and Rex show, and actually when I rewatch it, I see it as that, and I think it's better that they went that direction.
Well, it's interesting because it ran 7 years, so over that time, it got to be both at times. I mean, like there's a whole, I think season 6, there's just no Ahsoka, period. And it's like the two things that show did that I think were the most impressive is the creation and the arc of Ahsoka that continues in Rebels, and we'll see where it goes from here. And really making stuff that didn't work in some of the prequels better. Especially building that Anakin Obi-Wan relationship from something that like feels like it didn't exist before like episode 3 starts to something that like feels lived in. And we understand that like, Obi-Wan knew about Padme, and Obi-Wan had his own history. And like, if Anakin had just been able to like, it makes the tragedy of episode 3 so much stronger because Obi-Wan's perspective, where he came from, how he almost chose love over the Jedi, you know, and you see how he could have helped Anakin if Anakin had been in a situation where he could have asked for it.
Yeah, it's one of those things that like it's hard to get anybody who is a prequel, like a diehard prequel hater, to watch the Clone Wars and like I explained it, like this really will make all that better. Like I know I'm not saying it's going to make the wooden acting much better, but I don't mind wooden acting because it's just like whatever. Like it's Star Wars is like, I mean, come on. I mean, the only one who's ever delivered. I mean, Carrie Fisher did pretty good. Harrison Ford did pretty good. Hamill did pretty good. All right, never mind. Original trilogy is good. Everybody's good.
Alec Guinness.
Alec Guinness. Yeah, I wasn't going to get there.
Tarkin.
Peter Cushing. Yeah, I realized the error of my words there. But anyway, it's mostly George's fault because the acting is better in Empire and Jedi than it is in Star Wars, except for Alec Guinness, because he's obviously he can beat the director.
So should we talk about
Mando?
Yes.
The Jedi.
The Jedi. Yes.
Talk about it. Tell me. Let's start from the beginning of the episode. Who directed it?
I mean, who else? Yeah.
It has to be him. Like, wouldn't it be messed up if they gave it to someone else to direct?
Yeah, they're like, Dave, we're gonna do it in an Ahsoka episode, but you know what? You can do the Boba episode.
We'll give it to Alice Price Howard.
Does the writers PA want to write this episode?
Yeah, we'll give it to Bob. We'll give it to Bobby Cannavale's son. We'll let him direct and write it.
There you go.
And act in it. He could be Ahsoka himself.
But no, yeah, it was a double Filoni.
Yes,
if you will.
Hell yeah, it was.
Yeah, he wrote and directed it.
Yeah.
You know what I loved about this episode? The look.
Yes, the samurai look.
Exactly, right? It was like, what is that? The Hidden Fortress, that movie that George
Kurosawa look.
Yeah, exactly. And
I've never seen a Kurosawa film, and I know that's the look.
Interesting. You should. You should. Any Star Wars fan should watch Akira Kurosawa because you definitely see where George gets like a lot of his visual ideas for sure.
Okay.
So that's part of sort of where I think the lesser parts of the sequel trilogy ran into problems, and where I think parts of the Mandalorian, the good parts of the Mandalorian, have avoided that trap. Where, you know, the sequel trilogy very much looked at Star Wars as its inspiration.
Yeah.
Whereas Filoni and Favreau, it feels like, are looking at the things that inspired Star Wars as their inspiration. Like that episode, like you said, it's straight out of a Kurosawa movie, and it's not a version that we've seen before so much. I mean, like we've seen that on The Mandalorian somewhat, where they're always trying to get into somewhere or rescue something or kill something.
The story part of it, yeah.
But I mean, like even like her introduction starts with the mist and the lightsabers and the reaction of the people going up against her, in the same way that the introduction of Vader starts with these rebels in a hallway knowing what's on the other side of that door. And that like grim determination that they know they're probably going to die, but they're going to fight, you know. And then the door gets blown open, the smoke fills the room, and then Vader enters. You know. And I mean, even down to like Rogue One has a similar introduction to sort of Vader at the end of that movie. That's a little more sort of like taking it directly from A New Hope, as opposed to this, which is sort of going back to the source material to find that.
Yeah, I agree with all of that. It's
because I'm right.
Yes, Kyle. You're always right. No, I know. But I mean, one else. I mean, obviously, the episode had like a lot going on. I mean, we think Ahsoka is like the only thing. Obviously, I mean, the most exciting thing for me to talk about. But I mean, there's that whole fight with the spear that what's the woman's name?
Spear.
The Beskar spear. Yes. And we see in this episode that it can. Do you want to go from start to finish?
I would say let's just sort of like lay out what happened in the episode.
All right, go for it.
Maybe and go that way. So, fortunately, I was very glad that we started with Ahsoka instead of the Mandalorian landing and it taking 20 minutes to find Ahsoka, because like there's
I
a version of
agree.
it where you lose that opening scene and it's just Mando landing, going to the fortress, getting sent out to find the Jedi, and it's not until 20 minutes in that we finally see Ahsoka when she like attacks him in the forest.
Yeah.
I agreed with that choice. I actually, like, before the episode aired, I thought to myself, all right, this is gonna be Dave Filoni's episode, and I have a feeling Ahsoka's gonna be in it. And if you're gonna do it, you gotta put Ahsoka like straight in the first scene. You have to do that because the audience does not want to wait around to see her show up, and she gets less screen time, and you need to catch up with them. So it was perfect the way they, right off the bat, showed her as a first scene.
Yeah.
I agreed with that choice. Yes.
Yeah. And immediately, like, you get sort of everything you need to know about Ahsoka as she is now. Not her history, not her years as a Jedi, her falling out with the Jedi, her losing her master to the dark side, all of that. You don't get any of that, but you get everything you need to know about her and who she is now.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right? Where like she is there, she has a mission, she will look to negotiate first. She will look for that peaceful solution, but when that doesn't come, she is not afraid to do what she has to do to complete her mission.
Yeah.
And you see her skill as a fighter, you see her competence in battle. You see that it's not just sheer force, that it's strategic as well. You know, there are some Jedi who would just go in and just keep the lightsaber lit the whole time and just mow down everybody. You know, she's much smarter about it. She also, like, she's confident. She's willing to say, I will be back tomorrow, and allow them to take that day to prepare, you know, and not be worried that that's gonna, you know, that the two HK droids are gonna be ready to kill her.
And the way they prepare, because they know it doesn't matter. They can have a day to prepare. None of those people are beating Ahsoka. So in comes the Mando, and it's time to hire out a bounty hunter to go hunt down a Jedi. And just so happens that our Mando's looking for a Jedi. So
It's
all
interesting
works out
because he never, I don't think, I'd have to watch it again, I don't think he ever says it's a deal.
No, he never does. I know
he doesn't.
He never accepted the deal. He just,
I don't think he can. Yeah, I don't think if he did, he would have to kill her. Like that's there's no way he would have. So
I mean, he wouldn't be able to, but he'd try.
Yeah. Nah. So and you know pretty quickly that Mando, everybody's outmatched by Ahsoka, which is awesome. How badass she has. Well, she has to have. She survived Order 66. She's been hiding the entire original trilogy. You know, and then she's. But obviously, we don't know where she went, which is we're going to get to the end of the episode because Kyle and I are having a conversation off pod on a text thread about the possibilities of where Ahsoka's going and what this opens up. But back to the episode. So, you know, the Mando and Ahsoka meet in the forest, and they look like they're about to battle.
That Beskar stopping the blade.
That set it up for the
fight at the end.
Yes,
but that's what I'm saying. We learned in this episode that Beskar can take punish from or take on a lightsaber. So Ahsoka meets the child, and the child looks a lot like somebody she knew, and we learned.
I do love the
name.
Was that meme going around that was like, "I've only ever known one of your kind," and Yaddle's like, "And I was personally offended by that."
I'm so happy they gave him a name because I was tired of correcting people whenever they say Baby Yoda.
Yeah.
But when I heard it, I thought it was Koraku. I was like, oh, is he named after my favorite ramen restaurant? That's put subtitle on to read it. It's like Grogu. Okay.
Yeah. Plus, this obviously confirms that he's not a clone of Yoda as well, which was some of the theories out there as well. Unless they confirmed that earlier, but she tells his backstory basically, and she says he was at the temple. Now they don't explain how he survives Anakin slicing and dicing people up, but somebody said in one of our text threads, what was it, you, Kyle? Said something about like, no, actually I heard a friend at work was saying it. It's like there's that thing going around where Anakin says, Grogu, you were always good to me. Don't come to the temple.
Oh yeah, no, I don't think that's what happened.
So no, but it's funny that people are talking about like how maybe Anakin knew Grogu and he spared him.
I mean, if Grogu's 50, he and Anakin would have been there. They would have overlapped a little bit. I mean, I had said this in chat, but like, just imagine you go into the Jedi Order at the same time as Grogu, and he's a youngling, you're a youngling. 10 years later, you're a Padawan, he's still a youngling. 15 years later, you're a knight, you have a Padawan, he's still a youngling. 20 years later, you're a master, you're on the council, he's still a youngling.
You blow up with the Death Star, he's still a youngling.
Yeah. Like, so this is one of the two topics I want to talk about with Grogu, but we can do it. We should get through this episode first before we talk about the implications of this episode and my thoughts on how it like makes me rethink certain canon things that I should have thought about before but didn't.
I mean, basically within the confines of this episode, though, it's the Ahsoka mentions that she's not going to train him because this is what I have a problem with. She says she's not going to train him because of his emotional attachment to the Mandalorian, and I get it because she brings up I've seen it happen before and see what happens to the person. We obviously think she's talking about Anakin, but she's also seen it work with Ezra because Ezra went to the dark side but pulled back, and he was trained after obviously being emotionally attached to his family by Kanan. And so I don't understand why Ahsoka doesn't like that. To me, that's not a good enough excuse. Because she's got two examples and one worked and one didn't. She's got, I guess, 50-50 shot, So
well, so there's a couple things because I think one, and this is something that bumped me and probably still does, but I'll try to defend it. I'll take the opposite of my normal position.
Okay.
And try to defend it.
Wait, so it bugged you like it bugged me? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, for a couple of different reasons. But this is how I can rationalize it, I guess. One, she did see what happened to Anakin and what that attachment did to him.
Yeah.
Two, Anakin, part of sort of the rub with Anakin from the beginning, right, was his fear to be trained. And Grogu also had that fear. She senses much fear in him.
That's what Anakin was fearing, was training?
No.
Oh.
No. Just in general.
Just fear in general.
I think he was just afraid in general. I mean, I think part of it was training. Part of it was his mother's still there. Part of it was he's, in this new place that's cold because he's used to freaking living in the desert of Tatooine. Yeah. I think it was just a general fear that he had. And I think Grogu has that as well.
You guys are, sorry, keep going. Sorry. You're still going.
There's also gotta be if you're Grogu and you are ridiculously powerful in the Force and you were training to become a Jedi and all of this happens, he had to have felt Order 66. He had to have felt all of that, right?
For sure.
And we don't know what happened to him.
We don't know how he processed it too.
Right. Or
very young then.
If he did. I don't think he did. I think that's why he doesn't use his Force powers. That's why he doesn't, do it unless he absolutely has to, or he wants some macaroons that are blue.
You will give me all the chicken nuggets.
Yeah. So he's gone through all this trauma that he hasn't. I mean, it's not like he can talk to anybody about it. There aren't any other Jedi around to, telepathically communicate with before Ahsoka. So there's all of that. I don't think he wants to train at that moment, right? He's very hesitant to even use the Force to bring a rock over to himself without Mando pulling out the shiny ball and egging him on. But also his attachment to Mando, I don't think he wants to leave.
No, he doesn't. But he's a baby. It's just
yes, but it's also
what did you say last time? What is she
gonna do with him? Spoilers for the end of the episode. She's on a mission to go find Thrawn, and I assume Ezra.
Yeah.
Because what she ultimately says is she won't do it, not nobody should, or not. He shouldn't be trained, or he should forget the Force, right? She says she won't do it. She can't.
And by the way, you guys are gonna hate who I want to do it, and who I think is gonna do it. But
so those are the reasons I've rationalized it for myself.
That's fair.
For the most part, I agree with you. I mean, part of her thing was that the Jedi Order. I mean, I feel like generally she agrees with me on the Jedi Order.
She does.
For sure, she's closer to me than she is to Obi-Wan.
That's the thing. So did Anakin. Like Anakin, completely jaded about it, and definitely was like, "No, this isn't right. The way we do things."
Well, there's this weird thing that just popped in my head, because it's like, so this is a little bit of an aside, but it'll make sense. So Ahsoka is very much the like, this Jedi Order is broken, it has problems, I'm leaving it, right? And then you have like your Qui-Gon, who is very much like, he's like the hero in something Aaron Sorkin would write, because Aaron Sorkin is all about these like idealistic guys who go into systems that are somewhat broken and want to fix them from the inside. Like it would have been very easy for Obi-Wan to take like a Dooku or an Ahsoka or whatever and leave the Order, because he so disagreed with so much of it.
Yeah.
But instead he decided to stay in the Order and try to work that from the inside. So what I'm saying is I want the Qui-Gon Jinn Aaron Sorkin series.
Yeah. Well, that's what I was wondering. I was gonna ask you if Aaron Sorkin were to write a Star Wars, what would you want it to be? But you just answered that. I would love that idea, especially a young Qui-Gon. Russell, what are your thoughts on all of this?
I think she just didn't want to train him because it's such a hassle. Because she looked at the baby and I was like, oh man, I have to take care of a baby and train the baby. It's like, no, like he's gonna get in the way of her focus of trying to find Thrawn.
Yeah.
It's just like, it just looked like a hassle, and she was so nice about it. I saw it. I was like, oh, she used that excuse. Oh, that Anakin excuse, really? Like,
yeah.
Like if she thought about it, like you could tell she very much considered it. And when he said, "Oh, stay here. I'm gonna go grab him from my ship. I'll be right back," and then it looked like, he's gonna pawn this kid off me. Like I don't want to. And so she goes to the Razor Crest just to tell him, hey, I'm gonna tell you where to pawn this kid off somewhere else. Let some other Jedi find him. Like it just looked like a hassle. So that's what I got out of it. And maybe I'm just projecting. Not that I don't want.
So
I think it's gonna be Luke. I'm just gonna say it now.
If Sebastian Stan plays him, I might be okay with it. And
that's what I was gonna say.
And it'll be really hard.
That's what I was gonna say. But he's not going to be. I don't think Luke's going to be a character in the show per se. I think he's just going to show up literally for a second, take the baby to his new fucking thing, his new Jedi Academy, and that's it. I don't know when it's going to happen.
I don't think so.
It makes sense.
I mean, I'm not saying it doesn't, but I don't think so.
There are other candidates. You know?
Well,
So this what you just said, Russell. What you just said, Russell, ties into something I was going to talk about later, but I may as well talk about it now because it fits in this conversation. Training Grogu, training Yoda, training a member of that species is not a like master apprentice relationship. It is a decades long thing. Like he's 50 and he can't talk. Like if the Jedi Order is going to train something like that, someone like that, a Yoda, a Grogu, that's a multi-generational,
or Yaddle. Let's not forget about
undertaking, Yaddle. Or a Yaddle. That's a multi-generational undertaking. So like, it's not like, okay, here, Obi-Wan, you go train Grogu. It's okay, Obi-Wan, you train Grogu. Then when you fucking die, we'll have your Padawans, we'll have Ahsoka take over. And then when Ahsoka dies, we'll have her apprentice take over. Like, it is multi-generational. It's going to take 100 years to train him to become a Jedi. Maybe. It may be longer than that. We don't know at what point he becomes a teenager, at what point he's sort of like reaches adult Yoda-ish maturity, right?
Oh my God, I want to see him look at puberty. Oh my God.
Right. And so it's like, so like there's like two masters that only train him when he's like covered in acting.
Well, here's the thing. It's probably better than for Luke not to train him, because that means that he's probably out there in the universe still.
I mean, that's
Kylo,
why I think Luke
Kylo
is
didn't
sort
kill
of
him.
the doesn't make sense, because that sort of means, okay, well, so Baby Yoda doesn't make it that long.
Yeah,
Like,
which
so
sucks.
Baby Yoda gets killed by Kylo Ren, which is just a bad way to go. But
or he became one of the Knights of Ren. We just didn't see him in the.
Just the one Knight of Ren that's always just sort of just off camera.
Yeah, exactly. He's too little. He's too little. He's hidden.
I really hope they have a plan for him though, because I feel like they wrote themselves into a corner by making him 50. And like,
yeah, you're right.
Yeah, I mean, he's always going to be Baby Yoda. Yeah, it's unless they make like a sequel trilogy that's set 400 years later.
Yeah, because you can't watch him grow up like in those sitcoms. Like you always see the sitcom baby. Like by season 7, they're like
teenagers.
Yeah. Modern Family. You see all those kids in Modern Family grow up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, Baby Yoda's going to be Baby Yoda for another 50 years.
Yeah.
But so that sort of, I think, feeds into a larger point about the Jedi Order, is that like if you are going to train a Yoda, like, so 900 years ago, they were training Yoda.
Yeah.
And
who was training Yoda? I want to meet that master.
Well, that's a good point. It's a good question. So 900
years ago,
they decided.
Older.
I don't.
Maybe it's Yoda and Yaddle's kid. You know, maybe they.
That's the thing.
They goddamn. Sorry.
I mean, it's possible. But the point being that, like, so 900 years ago, somebody in the Jedi Order was like, Yoda and his species are so powerful in the Force, it's worth the decades, 150 years it's going to take to train him.
Yeah.
Because we will have such a powerful Jedi.
Yeah. Plus, there's so many Jedis at that time.
Sure. But I mean, even like when they were deciding to train Grogu, there were a ton of Jedi, right? It wasn't until Order 66 that all the Jedi went away. But so the institution of the Jedi Order, this is where we get into like episode 1 trade disputes territory. But like, they are so committed to training a Yoda 900 years ago. They train Yoda for 150, 200 years, right? That has to pay off somehow, you know? So like, so now Yoda, who the entire prequel trilogy is just wrong about every single thing. Like, he doesn't know where the dark side's coming from. He doesn't understand that you know, Palpatine is running all of this, right? Is taking over.
They do that with one line. They do that with one line from Mace Windu. It says that they don't know that our power in the Force is diminished. Like, you know, they have that one line,
but Yoda's just, I mean, it's just when does Yoda make like a right decision? You know, so my point being that
to rescue the Jedi on Geonosis, that was pretty good.
Sure. Except if they had just
let around Anakin the survivors, a perimeter create.
Except if he had just let Anakin die.
That's the whole thing. Is like, would you go back and kill baby Hitler? You know, you don't know, baby. You don't know what's going to happen.
Totally. But also, he went and was like, wait, there's a clone army that we didn't know about that some Jedi just made. Well, I guess we should just use it and start a war. Like, that's not like,
well, I think
this clone army fell in my lap. Okay, let's use it. Like, that's not a smart person. That's not a careful person's decision.
I think what the prequel trilogy, and we'll get off that real quickly now because we're going to get stuck on the prequels, is Palpatine. Yeah. Palpatine is stronger than Yoda. Yoda's a better fighter, and he would have beaten him in hand-to-hand combat if you know, Palpatine wouldn't have cheated. But
sure,
Palpatine is stronger, and the dark side is stronger because it uses every aspect of the Force.
My point being that the Jedi Order had a blind spot for Yoda. Yoda was a gifted child who got to where he was. And
he's Anakin, but he just
the Jedi Order just never like thought, should we not put him in charge of everything? Should we like consider maybe he shouldn't be in charge of the council for 400 years? Like,
he's always co in charge because Mace was just as
yes, but Mace only lives for 80 to 100 years.
No, I know, but I mean that's what I'm saying. But you can't
this guy.
You can't do anything about that.
Yeah, you can. You take him off the fucking council.
Yeah, this deep dive into Yoda's history is just gonna.
Yeah, it's gonna. We can say this for another. We should have a whole Yoda pod. We should have a whole.
I'm just saying, don't train the kid. It's pointless to train the kid.
I want to get to the next episode, but the only thing I wanted to say was I wanted to talk because Kyle and I mentioned casting for possible because that deals with this episode directly for Thrawn and Ezra. Now, originally I had said I wanted the kid from On My Block, which I'm forgetting his name all of a sudden. Feel bad, but where his age would be now, he would be in his 40s probably, or at least late 30s. No, late 30s. No, he'd be in his 30s. He'd be in 30s at least, right?
This is
because when he blasted off, he was 18 when he left. Before. No, so
that was like
that's like 20 years later.
Before Battle of Yavin. No, 20 years.
I don't know. You guys confused me with the timeline last time.
No, well, Mando.
This is like 6 or 7, or this is like 9 years after Battle.
Okay, then
it's like 5 years after Return of the Jedi and Rebels.
Okay, then my guy stays. Then my guy stays. Hold on, I'm gonna get his name right.
So he's like 28.
So it's around 20. It's around 10 years since Rebels. So
his name's Diego Tinoco. Tinico. I don't know if I'm saying his last name right, but anyway, then I'm sticking with him. Look him up. On My Block, he's the really good looking Mexican kid, and On My Block.
I would say Tyler Posey.
I like this guy better. Plus, I want some Mexicans in Star Wars. Come on, we got some Asians, we got some white dudes, we got some black dudes. You know, we got Tamara Morrison's like French. No, what is he? He's like New Zealand.
Is he Australian? Or New Zealand.
He's Australian. Yeah. He's one of those.
Zealand, right?
Kiwi. Yeah. But anyway, I really want this kid. I like Tyler Posey. Tyler Posey is good too.
He is of Mexican descent. Tyler Posey, his mom is Mexican.
Really? All right. Well, I'm down with Posey too. But I like this other kid better. But I do like Posey. But On My Block is a great show. We won't talk about On My Block in the show, but that's a fantastic show. And then my pick for Thrawn, if they don't get Mads Mikkelsen's brother, because I can't think of his name. What's his name? He does the voice on the show.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, Mads Mikkelsen's brother is the voice of Thrawn on Rebels. Just can't think of his first name. I want to say it's Lars.
Do we know he can act? It is Lars.
Yes, he can totally act. But my choice would be Dev Patel. That's who I want for
Dev Patel as Thrawn.
Oh,
that's interesting.
Because think about it. I mean, you're turning whoever it is blue. So let's just get as strong an actor as we can get in there. That dude can do. I think that dude can do anything. Yeah, I like Dev Patel a lot. He was the only good thing in Last Airbender. Like, poor guy. He was a good Zuko. Just the movie just was not good. But,
interesting.
Yeah, I would love Dev Patel.
It would definitely be a stretch for him.
Oh, it'd be something different, but I think he's talented enough that he could pull it off.
No, I'm not saying he couldn't do it. It just had not even occurred to me.
Yeah, I just, for some reason, I pictured him blue, and then I heard his voice, and I'm like, yeah, I'm down with that. Because the thing is, he would still have to somewhat match the Rebel's voice, so he would have to adjust it a little bit. Although Rosario Dawson didn't really adjust her voice any. It was still just Rosario Dawson's voice. But I guess that's different because Ahsoka was so young when Ashley Eckstein voiced her. So maybe Ahsoka became a smoker. So the voice a little more throaty.
Yeah.
So anyway, what did you, Kyle?
That's so interesting.
Kyle, you had some ideas too. Is that?
Well, I just realized I have no idea how old Thrawn is.
Yeah. A friend of mine suggested Jason Isaacs, but I was like, isn't he the voice of the Inquisitor already? But then I'm like, wait, it's a voice actor.
Jason Isaacs, I love Jason Isaacs, but I think he's overused.
I don't think so.
Kind of characters.
Yeah,
I mean, because he's awesome. Like he's great. He's great. Any bad guy that dude's played has been awesome. So it's not like he wouldn't be good, but like he was great in Star Trek Discovery. You know.
But what you really need, right, is somebody who you can who you just believe immediately sees every single angle, right? Who can give a monologue about art or culture or any of those kind of things, right?
Yeah, I think Dev can do all. Dev can do all those things.
I just haven't seen him do any of those, so it would be. I mean, I totally think he could.
Yeah.
And I think that's a great, not obvious choice. And me saying that's a great, not obvious choice.
I'll take that as a win. Yeah, I'll take that.
No, that totally is. Yeah, it not even occurred to me. I
was trying to think of not the easy ones. Like I said, Jason Isaacs would have been easy. even Lars Mikkelsen. I mean, that's what I'm saying. I would like him, but he looks a little bit older than Thrawn seems to be.
It's so the MCU casting version of him.
MCU casting.
The MCU casting version
Jeremy
of him would be
Renner.
like Benedict Cumberbatch.
That's an easy one too, though, because Benedict can do anything.
Yes, that's a super obvious one. The he's too old for this, but would fucking kill it if he was 20 years younger, is Charles Dance, who played Tywin Lannister on Game of Thrones.
Yes, Charles Dance from 1980s, from like when he was in The Golden Child with Eddie Murphy. That dude was definitely Thrawn.
I mean, like that.
Or Last Action Hero, his bad guy in Last Action Hero. Sorry.
Well, or like the scene in Game of Thrones where he's like skinning the deer.
Yeah.
Like, and lecturing Jaime about legacy and family and all of that. Like, you just take any of his like lectures from Game of Thrones and put them in paint him blue, and that's Thrawn.
Yeah.
My outside the box one is Naveen Andrews.
Oh, hell yeah! I would do
Saeed
him
from
for sure.
Lost.
Hey, we both went Indian there. Oh no, wait, he's not Indian. Never mind.
No, I think he's
Middle Eastern. He's Middle Eastern. But anyway, I love him.
Yeah, so that's my like outside the box, super excited choice.
He's exactly what you were talking about earlier about a guy who can see all the angles. Because as Saeed, the only time Saeed was ever out of control was when Shannon died, because he was just so emotionally wrecked. But most of the time, that dude was on point. So what about Ezra? Do you have anybody for Ezra, or just Thrawn was the only one you're thinking of?
No, I think you're right on Ezra.
Okay, and then what about you? You said I heard your pick for Ezra, Russell, but what about for Thrawn?
For Thrawn, Michael Rosenbaum. I don't know. I can't think of anyone. Like,
Michael Rosenbaum's Lex Luthor.
I'm just throwing that out. Like,
hell yeah! I would watch that. He was
a really good Lex. So
he was an amazing Lex. He was the best Lex. I would go to bat. Like, I love Gene Hackman, but he was the best Lex.
It would just be too similar for him. Like, if he played Thrawn, like, because he does those, like, historical references and art piece references in Smallville. Like, he's too much like Lex Luthor. So
All right, cool. Well, let's get to the next episode, because there was. Wow, what an episode!
So
like, how do you back up with the bet? Oh, you got more.
Sorry, one more thing. Well,
Okay.
it's interesting coming out of this episode, because it's like, this is the second time that Mandalorian has shown me a glimpse into a show that I'd almost rather be watching. Right?
Yes.
Like, if you gave me a choice to watch The Mandalorian as it has been constituted up to this point, or the Bo-Katan, I want to find Moff Gideon, get the Darksaber back, and refound Mandalore, I'd choose the Bo-Katan show. If you told me I could watch The Mandalorian as it is constituted right now, or the Ahsoka Tano, I'm trying to find Thrawn and Ezra show, probably go with the Ahsoka Tano show.
Yeah, but this kind of feeds into whatever, I think it was Moorhead said it last week, about how this is trying to go towards the route of Game of Thrones, where you're going to have these situations where you're following these characters on this episode on this side of the world. Now you're going to be following on this side of the galaxy. And I like that idea. If you're going to do it that way, or spin-offs, I'm fine with that. Like I told you, even if it's just a limited series, if you do a 6-episode Ahsoka series, like the way they're doing Obi-Wan, I'd be fine with that. I just want as much Ahsoka as I can get.
Yeah. So I think my issue with doing the Game of Thrones style version of things is that there wasn't really, especially in those first few seasons, there wasn't episodes or scenes where they'd cut to this area and I'd be like, oh, we're here now. Okay, I don't care. And not that I wouldn't care in like a Mando featured episode after an Ahsoka featured episode. It's just I care so much more about the Ahsoka episode that, like, I think the future of Star Wars is going to be, for one, I don't think we will see Ahsoka again in Mandalorian. No. In fact, I hope we don't. Like, I would really rather not. I think the future of Star Wars is... So first, I'll say, there's a really interesting thing that The Mandalorian has done, is that it's connected everything. Yeah. You have the threads going out to the sequel trilogy with with Grogu's blood and the cloning farm, and all of that going on, and the First Order, the Empire's back, right? I think Boba Fett said.
Yeah.
So you have sort of that reaching towards the future. You have that reaching towards the past with, just, Din Djarin himself being a refugee essentially from the Clone War, taken in by the Mandalorians, as well as, again, Grogu sort of also goes back to that era. You have now Ahsoka Tano having come in, linking in. I mean, Din Djarin himself links in the Clone Wars show. Ahsoka brings in Rebels, brings in Clone Wars, brings in the whole prequel era. You have, the Marshal is from the books. You have Thrawn, now, who was originally in the previous canon, then was in books, then was in Rebels. Like Bo-Katan, you have all of these, this is the first sort of piece of Star Wars that has really brought in everything from every era all at once.
It's almost like this is what they've been building to from the beginning, when they said everything was going to be connected: video games, comic books, novels, shows, movies, everything.
I think this was an accident. I don't know. I mean, or not an accident. Let me rephrase.
I'm not saying that they knew exactly this was going to be the show to do that, but I'm just saying they were building towards something like this.
Well, it's never been a cohesive world, Star Wars. It's always, even with the, the Legends canon, the video games never really tied in. The books would technically be chronological, but like you would have a book that came out, you'd have the Thrawn trilogy, and then you'd have a dozen books that take place between Return of the Jedi and the Thrawn trilogy starting, that they just never reference in the Thrawn trilogy because it was written before then, right? There was no like cohesion to it. And I think, I don't think Lucasfilm was like, I don't think anybody at Lucasfilm was like, Mandalorian's going to be the new mothership, right? That's going to be the thing that connects everything. But I think in the, the thing that everything else sort of builds out from, right? That's like, so it used to be the original trilogy was the foundation, right? And like the books, the comics, the video games, everything from that all sort of spoked out from that, the prequel trilogy, the sequel trilogy. Now it feels like moving forward, the Mandalorian has become that new foundation for the series. And I don't think Lucasfilm ever intended that. I don't think Kathleen Kennedy ever intended that. I think the combination of it being so popular in season 1 and Rise of Skywalker having so many issues and not feeling like this cohesive thing allowed Filoni and Favreau to, especially going into season 2 of Mando, be able to create their version of the shared world, right? It'd be able to bring in everything from everywhere and connect it all. And now this, to me, feels like I don't think the Obi-Wan show, when it comes out, I feel like there's going to be some connection to Mandalorian. Not in a like everything that happens in that show leads to this massive thing in Mandalorian, but I think there's going to be some small connection there to keep those together, right? Whether it's Ahsoka shows up in the Obi-Wan show, or Rex shows up in the Obi-Wan show, or he helps Boba Fett get out of the Sarlacc, or he's dead by then. Never mind, strike that. But like, it feels like this is in a lot of ways the era that sort of Star Wars has been trying to live in, but hasn't been able to until now. Because like, I'm really struggling to explain this, but like, because like if you look at the prequels as far as Star Wars eras, the only interesting thing about that era is that it's the end of an era, right?
Yeah.
And then you have 20 years of the Empire being in control. And like, again, having a one monolithic government that's running the galaxy is not that interesting. When you get to the original trilogy, that's a galactic civil war. That's interesting. There are two sides to that. And there are two sides that not equal power, they're at least comparable, right? Yeah. And so now you get into this era where the Empire's gone ish. It's in the process of reforming, right? It still exists. It's either dwindling down and trying to build back up or something like that. And the New Republic has still not solidified itself. It still hasn't been able to convince the galaxy that it's in charge, that it's taking over, right? So you're in sort of this like Wild West kind of era, which is very much what the Mandalorian is, right? It's sort of this Western. So you're in this era where there's no clear power for a lot of the galaxy, you know, especially once you're outside of that inner rim. You know, if you're on Coruscant, I'm sure it feels like everything's great, you know, but when you're out here on the outer rim, when you're on Tatooine, when you're on, you know, insert planet that Mandalorian's been to,
yeah,
it's a much more interesting era. So, you know, it's like, I feel like there's going to be a lot of spin-offs from this, and not necessarily like direct spin-offs, but like I think Ahsoka's going to get her, you know, 6 to 10 episode. I think it's going to be a lot of like 6 to 10 episode.
I think Ahsoka and
limited series.
I think Ahsoka and Bo-Katan are going to probably be in the same show together. I don't know.
I don't think so.
I don't know.
I don't think so. At least not looking forward.
I don't know if Bo-Katan can carry a show on her own.
Bo-Katan doesn't need to, because I think Mandalorian season 3 is going to be about Din Djarin and him joining Bo-Katan and them going after, unless they try to wrap up the Moff Gideon stuff in the next 2 episodes, but I don't feel like that's going to happen. But I feel like Mandalorian season 3, I mean, I'm getting into some stuff that requires talking about the next episode to speculate, but
I
like
get to it because
feels like season 3, it feels like we are going to answer the question of if Baby Yoda is going to go off and train in the next 2 episodes. It would be really, really weird to have what happened in episode 6 with him sitting on the Seeing Stone.
Yeah.
Lead to waiting a year to find out what happens when we have 2 episodes still left in this season.
I think it behooves them to send Grogu off sooner rather than later.
Yeah. So I think next season is going to be about Din Djarin finding where he belongs, and it's not going to be with Death Watch. It's going to be with Bo-Katan. It's going to be with the true Mandalore, and it's going to be a show about bringing Mandalore back.
Yeah.
And that is a show I really want to watch.
Yeah.
I don't think that'll happen. I think we're not even in the next episode, but we're in a conversation about the future of Star Wars. And this episode 5 with Ahsoka, does bring out all those conversations and thoughts. I think The Mandalorian is going to be a flagship show, kind of like Jag. It's going to spin off to NCIS LA, NCIS New Orleans.
Wait, all those shows came from Jag?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, not a lot of people remember or do.
I watched the first season of Jag because I thought it was going to be like Top Gun, and it was not.
I think what they have here is with the future of streaming, like, this is it. Like, I don't want to see movies for a while, honestly. And, like, even if we do...
we won't.
I don't want to go into the New Republic era. I don't care. Like, for the sequel trilogy era, I don't want to go back there for another trilogy of movies.
The New Republic.
So you don't want Ryan Johnson's trilogy because it's not going to be those characters.
I mean, if Ryan Johnson, he ever gets no trilogy anymore. Like it was quietly gone away. Like
really? Have they? Because they never officially announced it, did they?
They announced it right before The Last Jedi was to be released. Like the week of or 2 weeks before The Last Jedi. They called it. They said, "All right, we're announcing Ryan Johnson has his own trilogy." Then after the backlash of The Last Jedi, you never heard of it ever again. Like,
oh my god!
But
I mean, there's been no talk of movies in a while.
Well, because there's no movies.
No. I mean, pre-Rise of Skywalker, there was no talk about what's next. Like,
that's not true.
They had announced that some people had movies, but like, okay, what's the next Star Wars movie?
Well, no, actually, there is a movie.
What's a Star Wars movie?
Taika Waititi's going to do a Star Wars movie as soon as he's done with MCU. So it's going to happen eventually.
Honestly, we don't know.
But he's signed to do one, so there is movie news. There is movies in the future.
But that's like, okay, no, that's fair. That is that I did forget about that because it's not like, I mean, it's just, to me, that news is like, oh, let's see what Taika Waititi comes up with for an idea for a Star Wars movie and then decide if we want to make it or not. Like,
they'll make it. Hey, everybody, check this out. So we had way too much to talk about in this pod. We had 2 episodes to talk about, 2 episodes that had so much that happened. It was almost like, 2 movies. So we split it into 2 pods. Part 2 is going to be here tomorrow. Hope you enjoyed part 1. We'll see you.